Jason, welcome back.
Hey man, what's up?
We always start by shouting our names. That's an interesting one. Yes, it's been a long time. Sorry for the long wait, but finally we are here, and we're here to talk about Gwent and its roadmap for 2021.
Yeah, I love that word, but I think we kind of maybe underestimated the impact of not doing this with you guys would have, and so, apologies if it feels like we're in a place where we weren't really planning to support Gwent properly. That was never our intention. We just wanted to open up some space for us to make some decisions and change some stuff, and I don't think we were quite ready at that time anyways, especially since we didn't know what we wanted to do with expansions. But are we ready now, Burza?
I think we're super ready right now to actually talk about everything. And yeah, like you said, sorry for the long wait. Things change in game development, as many of you probably know. And yeah, like Jason said, I think we are ready to share with you what we have in store for 2021. Of course, these are our goals. Right. And I think we should start with the monthly balance update. So what's happening with those, Jason?
Yeah, so sort of same as before, we're committed to keeping the game updated. Obviously some will be bigger than others. There may come a time once or twice a year where we just aren't in a place where we feel like super comfortable or a bit too busy with other stuff to maybe do something as significant as you guys want. I know that sometimes it might feel like we're not doing them fast enough, but we've had so many instances where we nerf hammered something too soon, and I think in the long run we regret it. Like, we think we killed something too harsh too fast, and so I guess maybe we're a bit more cautious here than maybe some of you guys would expect. But it's really hard to balance the preferences of so many people, right? It's often the people who are upset that are very vocal, and those who are happy are super quiet. And I guess there's always this little angel on our wing saying, "No, wait, this other person is happy, but I'm very angry." And it's really hard to make decisions, and I think we really want to take more time to think it through and let things settle down or sizzle in the frying pan a little longer before we pop it onto a plate.
What about addressing like problematic cards and stuff like that?
Generally, we always want to do that, though, ideally in measured ways, meaning not too strong. Like, ideally we don't kill things that people really like. I mean, sometimes it needs to be it needs a hatchet, and I think there'll be some things you guys are really happy coming up with the next balance update really soon. But oftentimes we want to just try a provision here, a point here, and I know that might seem like really tame to you guys, but I think history has shown that sometimes one provision or one power can make a huge difference in a deck and in the meta.
Yeah.
But the next update is a pretty big one. I'm pretty excited for it. Yeah.
I think we'll talk more about that later.
Yeah.
Exactly. Same thing goes, I think, for underperforming archetypes. Like, instead of like tearing stuff down, you guys want to bring other things up, and I think that's always been kind of a goal. Whenever there's something that is super strong in terms of an archetype dominating, you want, instead of nerfing that one to the ground, you want to bring up other things.
Although sometimes they need to have peg taken down, yeah.
Yeah. Well, sometimes if it's too crazy, right? Yeah.
But that being said, we've had a pretty crazy February, I would say. Things have been rather difficult. So, there's quite a few fixes, like the hide button missing when certain card choice screens appear, that unfortunately, we just kind of had to put aside for this update. But it's definitely something we have in our roadmap that we want to work on and fix. But we definitely wanted to focus on getting this new content out for 8.3, and ultimately we had to pick something to focus on because our usual rate of doing things was severely hampered in the last month. So
yeah,
I hope you guys appreciate it. I just want to do a shout out to the whole team that's been working really hard to make this happen. It's not been easy to get this update to happen. I hope it all goes smoothly and there's no giant issues that happen, but regardless, the guys put a lot of effort trying to get this for you guys.
Yeah,
but that's for later. Yeah. Maybe we should move on to the next part of the roadmap.
Yes. So actually, we will show you guys the roadmap because we're going to be talking about Journey to start off.
Right. Is there much to say here? Or do you want to just take this one over?
So journeys will be happening in the same cadence as they are happening right now. So you just saw Yennefer's journey, meaning that the next one will be in May with a very familiar character. And that's all I can say. I don't want to add more. Next one in August, and then the other one in November. So yeah, pretty much everything stays the same. Am I correct with that one? I think I am.
Yeah, we're quite happy with how people are engaging with Journey. We know it's not necessarily a product for everyone, but generally you guys are engaging with it really awesomely, and I think we're gonna keep experimenting. Like at least one journey this year will be something more than what we've done in the past, right?
Yeah, like we want to try something new.
Be careful here, yeah.
But yeah, we can't go into specifics just yet. But yeah, something in the formula might change.
Yeah, but not like fundamentally in a bad way, right? Just a new way of doing a journey. I think something we want to do this year for sure.
Exactly. And apart from that, I think that's it for journeys that we wanted to cover.
Right.
Now the big one. The big expansion topic. So what's happening in the future of expansions? And we'll go back to the roadmap probably for this one to kind of highlight everything much better, in a better way.
So I think this one's actually really tricky to me, and I'm hoping you guys can bear with us here. I think that there's a fundamental slight issue with the way that we think about how CCGs should do content, where the number of cards released is equated to the quality of content or how much a game is being supported. And I just find that leads to a paradigm where just a lot of extra cards that never reach the meta, never see much play, get jammed in to sort of add value to the content, to make it feel like it's really big. And I think with the effort that we take to bring in existing cards and archetypes and bring them into the meta and try to create some diversity that way, that it's almost like counterintuitive, because if we keep focusing on these large content drops, it's either we're making content that a good chunk of it is not really playable, or we keep having to power creep it so everyone's absolutely only playing the new stuff and the old stuff just kind of dies away. And I know that like historically a lot of our newer stuff has felt a bit power creeped, but I think that's been like a side effect of us trying to find the right formula for what a card set should be, or what an archetype or a deck has been. And with like even this next balance update, you'll see us try to bring up other archetypes to the level at which existing content has been. I would also add that like Madoc and Elzer showed that like even one card could be quite impactful. Like even though Madoc was only one card, all of a sudden all these bomb cards that, let's be honest, were dead in the meta.
True.
Since their release, all of a sudden are seeing their place in the qualifiers recently.
Plus, when you're saying this, like the community interaction was also good. Like they said, it's only one card, but one card can have, like you said, like a very big impact. And we saw that this was like very appreciated from players.
Right. So what we'll be doing with 8.3 on top of over 40 balance changes is we'll be releasing 12 new legendary cards as leader cards to kind of get a good feeling for what a slightly larger Madoc type campaign will do for the meta and for the ability to play the game, as kind of like a precursor for what we want to do with, I guess we should call them sets instead of expansions, right? So what we want to do is we want to do every 2 months a whole new drop of cards. 4 per factions, 1 of each rarity, for a total of what? And 2 neutrals, so about 26 cards, new cards every 2 months. And starting sort of this cycle of new cards, balance, new cards, balance, new cards, balance. And for this to be happening year round without any breaks, right? And, just kind of add some expansion feeling and love to it. What we'll do is we'll break 3 drops and combine them as 1 set. So, starting from hopefully beginning of June, we'll have our set 7 first drop, then 2 months later set 7 second drop, then 2 months later set 7 third drop. That would conclude the 7th set of Gwent, and then 2 months later we start off the 8th set, right? So we start exploring a new theme. Whew. Right now I think this will be the status quo that we want to go in. I think it's something that's a bit exciting for us, even though it is actually a little bit more content from like the size of a set that we did in the last few expansions. It will be technically a little bit less it will be less cards this year because that final set, the 8th set, will have 2 releases next year, right? But this is kind of the price we have to pay to go in that direction. And because it took us so long to figure out how to work in this paradigm and how to design and plan and do this effectively, this first half of the year has sort of been a catch-up of us, starting production on this next set. So it has been an internal paradigm shift from how we work, right? But I'm actually really excited. I see stuff coming for the 7th set already. It's going to be pretty fantastic. So
interesting theme.
Yeah. So I know this is going to be quite a change, but we believe very strongly that the way we plan to do this will be really healthy for the game, and we'll add a constant feeling of something new to explore and to do. And we think that's what we need in Gwent more than anything else. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I agree. And also, like you said, what players have been talking about for a longer period of time is the fact that they need to wait 6 months in order to get a card drop. And we're trying to eliminate that with this system because you're getting cards more frequently. Of course, you're getting less of them. And we still have an overarching theme that connects to it. Like you said, it's 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, and that ties into one big theme.
And in the long run, it'll be a little bit more than what we've got, let's say, last year. But for sure this year it'll be a little less just because of the way the schedule works, right? If we had started the beginning of the year, it would have been more this year. And we're actually trying to start this new cycle a bit earlier than the 7th expansion would have normally released by a month. Yeah. Fingers crossed all that works out. Things don't always go the way you plan.
Exactly. But I'm hopeful that it's going to work that way. And 2 things to mention, like balance updates will also come with card drops, and balance patches are expected to be in off months. So we, like you said in the beginning, we're keeping that cadence of balancing stuff out on a monthly basis.
Now, you want to talk about what these 12 leader cards are?
Yeah.
They're not leader cards. They're just legendary cards. But
yes, we call them leader cards internally. Because the arts are tied to leaders that you know in the game that used to have their depiction on the card, but now they've become cards by themselves, and they're quite powerful because we have been testing them for quite some time already. And I think we were actually even talking about it just before we started streaming that they are
super exciting and fun. I'll be honest. We're having a lot of fun with them.
You want to start off with Anna Henrietta? In this case,
let's go faction by faction. Let's start with Nilfgaard. Introducing Anna Henrietta, human. Do you want to read out the card description?
Yes, human aristocrat, deploy. Replace your leader ability with a base copy of your opponent's leader ability. What? 9 provision, 3 power.
So some fun things about this ability is that you can use it after using your own leader ability. Probably you should use this card after using your own leader ability. It works regardless whether your opponent used their leader ability or not. So it makes a copy. It doesn't care if your opponent used its leader ability or not. In some cases, it might even trigger Assimilate, right? If you steal Call of Harmony or Patricidal Fury, boom, new token that's not in your starting deck. And it's not predictable with this usage, which is fun with this card, right? Like depending on your matchup, you'll get completely different dynamics of playing with your opponent, and we think that's really cool. It's a potentially high risk, high reward card, and some leader abilities will just not be one you want to copy, right? Like,
true.
You have no charges on any of your cards, but here comes stockpile. Right?
No, you don't
stockpile is so meta, right?
Yeah.
But definitely we think it's really fun, and it's definitely for Nilfgaard.
Yeah, like you said, high risk, high reward. I mean, can work, can totally brick.
Yeah. So before we move on to the second leader card for Nilfgaard, again, they're just legendary cards, guys. So it's not a new card type. Maybe we should talk about what we doing with clogging and Viper Witcher mentors. Surprise! I know you guys would have liked us to do it sooner. It just was not possible. You'll have to take my word for that. Viper Witcher mentor is being reverted to Adrenaline 2. But in addition, Colgrim is having his adrenaline go from 2 to 1. We wanted to reduce, the amount of points that Colgrim can generate if he's not answered. So we remove the adrenaline down by 1. I know this doesn't necessarily stop the scenario where you have 2 cards left, your opponent has 7, you play Colgrim, then you auto play like 7 turns. But at that point, if you didn't have an answer, you didn't have an answer. I'm hoping that we're hoping that these two changes reduce the oppressiveness of these decks when they go there without killing them, because even though I know quite a few of you are maybe a bit frustrated or a bit annoyed with this archetype and with these decks, we do believe that there's a large community of people that really enjoy playing these decks and are really fun. And we don't want to kill something that a large amount of people find fun. Even though you may not know these people, and in your close circle, these people may not exist. I am fairly certain they exist.
They are there.
Yeah. People of the world, if you do like this kind of mechanic, be vocal so we're not looking like crazy people. Yeah. You do exist, right?
They do, for sure.
No, they do. I'm just being a bit funny.
Yeah.
What topic do you want to talk about next?
I think we need to talk about lockdown. I mean, it's a topic for sure. It's a topic amongst the community. So let's try to defend first. Lockdown. What's your defense?
I mean, it's been a staple in the game for a really long time, and I know that there's always been a community of people that have wanted its removal for a very, very long time. Like, it's not like the issues that people have with lockdown are new and unique, but I will definitely say that I think recently lockdown became more prevalent as a viable meta strategy more than ever before. Like, it's definitely gone out of control. But I think ultimately we decided that lockdown creates 2 issues that are too big, or 2 issues that we fundamentally have a problem with, and that's there's too much of a risk of it becoming of it being a band-aid solution that becomes permanent, which is what happened recently, which is really unhealthy. And I think we've we've converged on the concept that we don't really want to keep such a band-aid solution in the game, because it ends up too easy to using it as a justification for something else existing. Yeah, like worst case, lockdown will fix the meta until we get to it, and hide the problem a bit longer, make it harder for us to judge whether it's time to react or not. So with those 2 points in mind, we are reworking lockdown, not into a spy archetype, I think, as some of you guys would like, although there is love coming for that as well.
Stay tuned for that.
We want to keep the spirit of lockdown, but remove its oppressiveness, let's call it. So would you like to read the new ability of lockdown?
Of course. Sir? Let me show it. Lockdown. Deploy. Disable opponent's leader ability for the duration of this round. If your opponent's leader has no charges left or is on cooldown, spawn 2 operatives on your melee row instead. For provision change from 10 to 13.
Yeah, that's actually pretty big change. Fun fact, the AI deck that uses Lockdown, we chose Lockdown because the AI didn't have to do anything particularly hard with that leader ability, so it was easy. And well, now when you play against Lockdown AI for the foreseeable future, it's not going to be as strong as it once was. It just uses order right away in the first round. It still has potential to kind of create a more of a dynamic between players, right? Those big last say leader abilities will definitely struggle to win the third round against this leader ability, and it should work that way. And conversely, it doesn't lose all its value. If your opponent uses leader ability in the early rounds, you can still get 6 points. That being said, it's going from 10 to 13 provisions. 13 provisions might very probably be too low for this ability to be viable, actually, but we're not sure of that yet. And let's be honest, at least the next month with Lockdown disappearing almost completely might be the breath of fresh air that we need right now to get that thing out of the meta for a while. Again, it might be still viable at 13 provisions. We don't know that for a fact. It's really, in the sample size that we're testing, it's hard to say with certainty. But I personally think it's kill leader ability provision value, and I've decided I can live with that for now, and we can always bring it up later.
Exactly.
Death to Lockdown for a while, guys. Take a breather.
Yeah. Get some rest from it. Although I think
I think the implications to the meta of doing this is going to be huge. Yeah. Right. And like, I think Lockdown was making a lot of decks unviable and unable to enter the meta. So,
but if you still want to play it, like, you will have to now choose when is the right time to use it. That's it.
Well, it makes it more interactive, right?
For sure.
In terms of how it works, and I think that's definitely better for the ability than before.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to His Imperial Majesty.
Emir Var Emrys joins the battlefield of Gwent.
The white flame dancing on the barrows of his enemies.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right.
Emir Var Emrys, yes. Human aristocrat, of course. Deploy. Draw a card, then move a card from your hand to the bottom of your deck. Whenever your opponent plays a unit, give it spying. Devotion. At the end of your turn, seize a random 1 power spying unit. 11 provision, 7 power. Boom.
This card is so fun, guys. 7 power makes it not really easy to deal with in one turn. Watching all your opponents get spying status makes, certain little aristocrats talking by a painting a little bit stronger than before. Mm-hmm. We like bringing devotion onto other cards. I know that a lot of you have wanted us to use that mechanic more. Definitely we're doing these cards. If you have devotion, it means every time you play a 1 power spy, which is any of the spies, bronze spies, after you play them, they just go back to your side of the board, which is like, and they lose spying when you do this, right? Mm-hmm. So it makes mirror matches super, super fun. It makes, is it the Mage Assassin, the one that deals 3 damage to adjacent units? It's, oh my God. I know the visuals, I know the ability. The name.
I have the same thing. The name always escapes me.
I suck at names. Okay. So that actually makes that spying card really useful, because Emir might pull her back, but also if you have like 4 power engine token on your enemy side that now has spying because Emir gave it to her, gave it to that card, you just play that Mage Assassin and you have a chance of pulling that with Emir in the next turn. Yeah, pulling that engine. There's just so much fun things that can happen with this card. It also lets you fix your clog. Yeah, it's another 2 power for Snowdrop. Like, this card is going to definitely enter the meta, and hopefully be a lot of fun. But I think this will bring spying.
Yeah, helps you if you don't have an Aeromancy, for example. Yeah, and
the games with this card feel really crazy.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much more interesting things happening in a match against Emir.
Yep, true that.
And I think there's one card that we're reworking that I think might seem like a bit strange and underpowered, but when you consider the implications with the mirror, might be totally playable. And that's False Siri, yeah? You have that for us today?
Exactly, False Siri. False Siri, human agent aristocrat, deploy, boost all allied agents by 1.
Right, so the thing you have to consider is every spy that you've played that Emir has pulled back is now going to get 1 additional point with False Siri. So there's a very high chance that you will get at least 8 points off of 6 provisions with False Siri. Potentially more if you're very successful and your campaign is Emir. It just fits the card really cool, you know? He likes playing spies, gets their work done, pulls them back. There's no downside to spies with Emir, it's
like
really
you said,
fun.
False Siri is kind of a card that people like. They really like the art and the overall story behind the character, and she's kind of been a staple since the very beginning of the game, so it's actually good to see her come back.
She might not end up being meta, it's hard to say at this point, but definitely it's something in the right direction. I will note that we won't be going through every single balance change today, right?
You'll get
we're going through a lot of it, but not all of it. I want to keep some surprise for the patch notes. Yeah.
Exactly. So we don't spoil everything. I mean, come on. All
Which
right.
faction should we tackle next?
Skellige, the Bloodthirsty Warriors.
I gave little titles to sections.
Yeah, you did.
Because they're super
really
corny.
cool. They're really cool.
Bloodthirsty Warriors. All right.
You want to start
new
with
warrior.
Ace?
Yeah, a new warrior joins the Skellige fray and brings some discard shenanigans with him. Reintroducing Ice Tursak.
There we go. Human warrior, veteran. Deploy Bloodthirst 2. Draw a card, then discard a card. Whenever you discard a Skellige unit during your turn, summon it from your graveyard to this row. Counter 2, Devotion. Also works whenever a Skellige unit enters your graveyard during your turn. 11 provision, 3 power. There you go.
Brr. This card is a bit crazy, I guess, but it's very hard to pilot very nicely. I mean, the Bloodthirst 2 condition means that you can't just plop it early into a round. Yeah, you have to generate that Bloodthirst. The veteran definitely makes it, a 5 power in round 3, which is probably the way that you want to use it. Again, we're using Devotion, as we were talking before, so this makes it so that even when one of your Skellige units die, it will also resurrect it. The counter is a limit of the number of times this passive can work. And, he can definitely be a nice little engine, coupled with other discard cards, making them behave just like, was it the names? The one that when discarded goes back to the board. Tursak, I think something?
It's not...
gray armor, shield.
Yeah.
Such a visual memory. People end up being quite angry at me. So it's potentially really actually nice. So, and a fun thing, if you're Devotion, it means that, like, for example, if you end up killing your own Blue Boy with an engine that's picking him, he'll come right back and you got more Blue Boy going on, right? Like, it's hard to say if this will redefine Skellige warriors, but I think it's an interesting ability for discard packages, which I think...
Agreed.
A good chunk of you guys like playing with discard, so here's some more love for that mechanic. Yeah.
Also a staple. People used to always love discard.
Yeah.
So more reinforcement coming in here. Next up, Uncrate Warcrier.
Yeah, so they're getting the 4 provision engine treatment. So they're losing 1 provision from 5 to 4. And their power is also being adjusted from 4 to 3. So this should help with Bloodthirst a bit, right?
Yeah.
Bloodthirst mechanic. But that being said, considering the prevalence of Skellige warriors so long into the meta, and here we are giving them some buffs, if you can believe that, although on non-existing cards. We wanted to, remove maybe one of their tools for things like Blood Eagle. So moving forward, Morgvarg, Heart of Terror, will no longer be a warrior. He'll only be like a scallywag, pirate. And also, Terror Crew Axe Wielder will no longer be a warrior, it will be purely a pirate. While definitely the Terror Crew Axe Wielder is not your first choice to resurrect and play warrior shenanigans with right now, we do think that considering the other new leader card, that might change.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, should we move on to the section R, matey?
Yeah, I wanted you to introduce the section before we moved on to the card. Yes, R, matey, the Jarl of Art Skellig, master of piracy, the wild boar of the sea himself, and that should already tell you that we're talking about Krahan Crate. So human, pirate, deploy, give to armor to 3 pirates or ships in your hand whenever you play a pirate or ship next to Crack. Damage it and the lowest power enemy unit by each other's power. That's a mouthful.
That's a mouthful. I'm not sure that the things that we'll be doing with pirates, like with the introduction of Crack, will finally make pirates a viable archetype in Skellige, but it's definitely going to be a big step forward towards them being meta worthy. We'll be keeping an eye on it. It's a very significant fleshing out and definition of where we want to take pirates. Will it be enough? It's very hard to say. I'm not even sure from the little bit of tests that we've done, or I've personally done, but it's definitely an exciting mechanic, right? Like it's like a duel anytime you play next to Crack, right? It's important to note that Crack his name does sound like a drug. This is a fun fact, right? His deploy sets up for potentially nice trades. He can potentially protect pirates and ships in his hand, and when they deploy, that armor will recoup itself in points, right? Your ship won't take as much damage as it would otherwise. And it can be quite useful. So, for example, if you play a Terror Crew Axe Wielder next to him, it'll immediately break the armor and trigger his exposed, increasing the value of that card.
Yeah.
So,
same goes for Armored Drakkar, for example. Yeah, this was a good example for that one.
So I think generally what the design team wants to do, I hate speaking for them, but with pirates is to play with armor and losing armor for ships. Like a little bit of self-damage, a little bit of offensive self-damage, I guess, and armor as a pirate mechanic.
Yeah. Moving on. We have the Dimun Smuggler.
Yeah, they've definitely upped their game since Crack has re-entered the seas. Their power is going down from 4 to 3. Their provisions is going up from 4 to 5. Deploy, if played next to a ship, spawn a base copy of self on this row. Order damage the unit by 1. So it's an easy, you play the Smuggler next to a ship, you get 2 3 power tokens, each with an order damage of 1. So that's a potential power of 8 for 5 if you can play it next to a ship, which is, I think, pretty cool. A bunch of smugglers coming out of a boat. Right? Think about the visuals, right? You put the boat down, you put a pirate to the left of it, and another copy comes out. It looks like pirates are coming out of the boat. I mean, that's going to feel lore friendly.
Flavor.
Which means you have to play the Dimun Smuggler to the left of the boat, guys. Okay? Yeah. That's the rule. So that the other copy spawns on the other side.
Stick
of the boat.
to it.
Do not spawn it on the right.
Yeah. It's kind of out of whack without that.
you can if you have a good reason.
Yeah.
You want to take the next one?
Yeah, Dimun Warship. Also, so when we're speaking about the whole demon dudes, machine ship. Whenever you play a pirate, damage self and a random enemy unit by 1. Death Wish, summon a random bronze pirate from your graveyard to this row. Dum, dum, dum.
I mean, again, self-damaging, kind of using it offensively, even resurrecting pirates. I think this is more interesting ability than what the Dimun Warship was doing before, which was pinging a unit 3 times by 1. You can definitely see we're starting to flesh out pirate archetypes. And this is without an expansion. This is without new cards. It's kind of an example of what I was saying earlier about, number of new cards does not necessarily limit us in terms of the way we can explore and make Gwent more interesting and fun.
Exactly. I think there's also one other small thing that you wanted to cover when it comes to Skellige.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that we will be removing one provision from Ursine Ritual, bringing it, I believe, I think that it's a step in the right direction. I think the value that Ursine Ritual as a leader ability is generating is no longer negative, right? Like it was at hypervision because, well, you're damaging yourself 5 times, so that's -5 to get a 6-point token. So that's what, a +1 leader ability. But let's be honest, those pings generally generate more power than they lose. Yeah. So I think Ursine Ritual at the provisions it was at is too high. And we may even decide to lose 1 more provision on it in the future if this does not bring the ability down a bit, because it's just too strong right now.
Yeah, I agree.
As a leader ability.
Cool.
Alrighty then.
I guess we covered Skellige. So we're
2 down.
Yes. So we're moving on now to the best faction, as you all probably know.
Right.
We're going to start with dwarves, and we're going to start with the ruler of Mahakam, which you might know for sure. You know.
For sure, you know this hog, this blanket hog.
We got Bruver Hog, dwarf. Deploy, gain 1 armor for every dwarf in your hand. Barricade at the end of your turn. Boost all dwarves with armor on this row by 1.
This is nutty, guys.
This is cray.
I've seen this clap me pretty hard in the tests where I did not remove his armor efficiently enough, and you know, there's even a new tool with the Dwarven Chariot allowing. Well, I won't skip ahead, but there'll be new ways to get armor onto Ruver, and on a row full of dwarves, that's what, potentially +8 every turn. Like that's a +1 to every card in this row engine. That's scary. Now you don't actually have to kill Bruver to get rid of this engine or to disable it, right? You can lock it, you can remove his armor, but dang, if this cannot be answered, it looks really cool too.
Yeah, I agree.
I think dwarves have needed something like this to make their package viable for a long time.
Yeah, just more tools for them, and this is quite a good tool. I have to agree.
This is a proper leader, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He definitely will lead the dwarves into battle and victory.
It's a staple card for dwarves. And you mentioned Dwarven Chariot because this card got a rework, so I will actually show this.
I mean, it still has deploy, spawn a rowdy dwarf on this row, but now it has order, give an allied unit 1 armor, cooldown 1, which I think for dwarves this is really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. There's so many playing with armor in the dwarves, but actually applying armor was a bit more clunky. You had, I think, the one dwarven miner that could do it on demand.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you actually had to play another card that, you know, could apply the armor for you, or play one of those neutral bandits to actually apply armor. This gives you a much more interesting tool to approach that, I believe.
Agreed here.
So that's actually the love we're giving to dwarves. It's two cards, I guess. 1 rework, 1 new, but this should definitely make dwarves better.
Yeah. More
dwarves have a real shot at being meta, I think, with this update.
I agree. We'll probably see a lot more players using dwarves. Specifically, instead of playing like a mix-up in between elves and dwarves and playing with that stuff around.
Yeah, we wanted to give that tribe some love.
Yeah. Speaking of elves, let's talk about elves and traps. Traps and elves.
You gotta read my section name.
Yes,
Stuck in a Trap.
That's what I was gonna say. This segment is called Stuck in a Trap.
Traps. My notes are funny. Okay.
Yeah.
They definitely found a favor a long time ago, while as an archetype, well, you know, largely due to our concerns about their interactivity, right, or lack thereof. With this update, we're hoping to make them a little bit more prevalent again by giving players new ways on playing with them without, you know, necessarily adding new traps. So, who's next? Who's our second Skoya leader card?
Let's go. It's our boy Eldane. He's an elf. He has deployed. Transform all your face-up traps into Elven Deadeyes. Devotion. Also transform your other artifacts. Whoa.
So original. I can't imagine this being in the game before now. Oh wait, that's exactly what Eldane did when he came out 2 years ago. Yeah. So he's returned. He's like, if I'm coming back, I'm doing exactly what I did before, guys. No negotiations. His union rep came in. It's decided. Although his devotion allows him to make, for example, ambush, the scenario for Scoia'tael, also transform into Elven Deadeye, which is kind of cool. But definitely, need we say more? We all know how this works. You play a bunch of traps, you play Eldain, bam, a bunch of 3-power tokens appear. Yeah. Strong.
Very
potentially.
Strong.
Yeah.
Can be very strong potentially, like you said. Since we're on the topic of traps, we have 2 more traps to share with you. Next one.
Well, they're getting springs, yeah? We decided to add a spring mechanic to both Serpent and Pitfall Trap.
Yeah. So for Serpent, like you said, the spring has destroyed the lowest power enemy unit.
And we know how good that can be with things like Imperial Manticore.
Exactly.
Wink. And Pitfall Trap split 6 damage randomly between enemy units. Yeah. So even if your opponent refuses to play any units, you might still be able to spring your Pitfall Trap for some value. Yeah. Yeah. I would argue I think Serpent Trap is proving to be more powerful than Pitfall Trap just because of this spring and the options that it comes with, but time will tell.
Exactly. Yeah. Last card to cover in this segment for Scoia'tael is Apar Hattori.
Oh, good old Hattori, who's been gone for so long.
Yeah.
He took a vacation, packed his suitcase, forgot his sunglasses, came back, got his sunglasses, went back away. Now he has returned with a brand new Elven Tan. You want to read it out?
Yep. Apar Hattori, Elf, deploy, create, and play a trap card from your starting deck. So more trap synergy here. And
this does not limit you to bronzes.
Ooh.
So you can get a second Serpent Trap, you can get a second Pitfall Trap. Who knows, right? Like, the thing is, without Hattori, you've seen your opponent play a Serpent Trap, you know it's gone, you know you don't have to worry about it anymore. But Hattori, what the hell did he make? Right? And it really adds in the question mark of traps back into the equation, and it makes traps potentially wacky and tricky to play against in a way that they haven't been in a very, very long time.
Yeah. Okay.
Again, there's another nice Goya change happening. We're not covering it today, saving it for the patch notes. Wink, wink. And let's move on to the next faction.
Northern Realms.
Northern Realms. All right. Yeah. What should we tackle first, Burza, today?
I think we should cover Vesemir Mentor, so Uncle Vesemir. We're decreasing his adrenaline requirement from 5 to 4. And
this is only because I misplayed him once in a casual stream. This is the only reason we changed him. The 2 Vesemirs now work with the same adrenaline. Thank you, design team, for making this choice just to make me look like a control freak that when I make a mistake, force design changes in the game. Yeah, thank you guys. Bravo.
Very nice. So that's
no, but we wanted to nerf Vesemir Mentor. Like there's a real implication here, and that's at 5 adrenaline. It was easier to play him in round 1 or even round 2, without having to commit to that 4 card range. Right? Mm-hmm. You were able to play him a bit too early in the round, meaning you didn't have to commit so deep. I don't think it's deck defining. I don't think it'll fundamentally change the way Griffin Witchers work, but it is a slight nerf in his flexibility. And as an added bonus, I will no longer be the only one who misplays him with the wrong adrenaline, and boom, this mistake will happen a lot as people adjust to his new ability, which will, in a way, instantly, temporarily nerf Griffin Witchers. Let's be honest. A lot of misplays coming.
Yeah.
No, but when talking about, Griffin Witchers, it's funny because I think the other thing we wanted to fix with it has nothing to do with Griffin Witchers themselves.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with the Lyrian Scytheman.
Yeah.
His ceiling has just proven to be too high and too easy to achieve.
Yeah, I agree.
So we're going to rework him slightly so that he will only boost himself based on the number of RDB units in its current row.
Yeah.
Now, this doesn't really lower the potential of Scytheman in a short round, though it does force your opponent to stack, row stack. So things like, Lacerate, which is so meta right now. But anyways, it does open you up to vulnerabilities of row stacking to get the full Lyrian Scytheman value.
Yeah.
And I think and it does lower the ceiling in a long round for sure, right? Like you can no longer get more than +8 with it, right? Because there's no 9-unit limit in a row. To kind of compensate for this, I would consider pretty significant nerf to the card. This will be increasing his base power from 3 to 4, and we feel like this was a fair trade.
Agreed.
Now, these two changes, bring down Griffin Witchers out of the meta because they certainly have been prevalent in February. We're not blind to that, guys. I don't know. It's for sure. I think the Lyrian Scytheman will reduce its ability to, spew last second points significantly, and maybe it'll do enough. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll definitely keep an eye on Griffin Witchers to make sure they don't end up so high so long.
Exactly. Agreed. Now let's talk about our siege weapon aficionado. Who can that be? So classic character, and I mean, he doesn't need any more introduction. We have King Foltest. Human. The first time a bronze unit on your side of the battlefield is boosted each turn, spawn a base copy of it at the bottom of your deck. Devotion. Also boost the spawned copy by 1. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, feels very Foltest, right? I mean, Foltest back in the day was boosting all things in your deck by 1, but we have good old Erlen to do that now. Definitely some things that come into mind is this will potentially work nicely with commandos, or actually
Dun Banners, Sentient
Knights, right? Because you can keep making copies. Although I think the number one card that will work nicely with this is actually going to be the Dun Banners, as they'll actually keep pulling each other out of the deck every time they get boosted and then make another one.
Dun Bananas.
Some interesting notes, because I believe in the PTR it showed up as something that surprised at least one person, was the Amphibious Assault, for example, will not trigger Foltest or the Dun Banners. Like something to remember. But I think this could actually also help Erlen as a finisher become more of a viability, right? Because with Devotion, not only do you keep creating a copy in your deck, but it's boosted by 1, which is yet another point Erlen can just suck up. And let's remember, even though Erlen has immunity, maybe cards like, I don't know, Curse of Corruption can just undo your enemy's game plan. So maybe that'll need to enter the meta. Another kind of note to kind of help with generating these boosts, Kidwenny Sergeant is being reworked from Zeal to Formation. So this adds a little bit of flexibility on him, so he can either protect himself. I think it makes him a bit better, more interesting alternative to Radovid Royal Guards. Whether you'll replace them or not, it's hard to say, but with a card like Foltest, 2 individual boosts by 1 I think will be better than or the individual boosts by 1
exactly
like game plan.
Agreed here.
Although I think we may have had slight troubles with this one particular balance change, so from when I'm speaking right now till when this goes live, we may have to cut this because Kidwenny Sergeant is in the tutorial, and we've noticed very recently that it causes problems.
Exactly. So we'll see about that one.
It should be in, I believe, but it's hard to say. That might change between now and then.
Yep. Moving on. Next segment, Throne Builder. Yeah. So her Royal Majesty Queen Meve is back. She's a human, of course. Inspired, at the end of your turn, lower the counter by 1. Counter 3. When the counter reaches 0, boost all allied units by 1. 10 precision, 7 power, and we have 2 armor on her.
I don't know if there's much more to say about this. Keep her boosted. She'll as a nice finisher. I think she's a bit clunky and might not be so easy to pull off, but the payoff could be quite massive.
Oh yeah.
She'll definitely love, swarming the board of the Northern Realms with things like the Karat City, the Karat Frigate. And sort of like as an addendum to that, we're actually buffing a card called Smoke Them Out.
Smoke them out. Warfare. Spawn 2 volunteers from an allied row. If you control a boosted unit, also boost spawned volunteers by 1. Yes.
So it's the more important thing here is it's essentially the same card, but it's 1 provision less and has, let's call it, a very easy to fulfill condition to get 6 for 4. That being said, it doesn't really play nicely as the first card because what will be boosted on the board, right? So it makes the card a bit more conditional, dynamic, thinky, or requiring thinking, but doesn't require that much thinking.
Yeah.
Power to provision is much more interesting than it was right now. Whoa, what an update so far. We're done? Yeah, that's it?
No, we still have monsters and syndicate. And something at the end.
Oh, we're so crazy.
Yeah.
Are you guys still with us? Are people still watching, you think?
I hope people are still watching. We're 50 minutes in, actually. So
this is the longest video we made ever, or in a very long time?
This is going to be the longest one for sure. But like you said, well overdue, I think. We're kind of waiting for this one. And for the previous one, for update 8.2, we specifically didn't want us to be on the video, but someone else. That's why it was Ryan and Jean, just so we can come back with a bang, let's say.
we just want to talk about the coolest stuff, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, we just want
to save all the best for us.
Best for last. Yeah. Okay, let's get cracking then. Monsters. The Blood Moon Rises.
It does. And I think you'll see Blood Moon in the new meta. I'm predicting it now.
And we have our boy making a return, Detlef van der Erting. He's a vampire, of course, if you don't know. Deploy, spawn Blood Moon on enemy row for 1 turn. Increase the duration by 1 for every adjacent vampire. Order, damage an enemy unit with bleeding by 1. Deathblow, spawn an Ekimara on this row. Cooldown 1. 10 provision, 6 power. There's a lot going on.
Man, these cards are wordy and complex, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
So much fun. One just note for anyone, it should be obvious, but just to be safe, the spawning of the Blood Moon with Detlef does not create Ekimaras automatically. Yeah. The max number of turns it can spawn Blood Moon is 3. And remember to use his order ability. You can remove Brewer Hog's armor 1 at a time with this, which is something I forgot in a match and didn't quite do it. When he does manage to get a death blow, which should be something you consider, you generate 3 points with an Ekimara.
Yeah.
Having tested out some mirror matches, because Vampires is really fun to play right now with all these changes. It is crazy to see 4 rows all full of Blood Moon, right?
Yeah.
It looks so crazy. But definitely really, really, really strong card.
Yep. Moving on, on the topic of vampires, we have Alp.
Alp, give an enemy unit bleeding 3, order give an enemy unit bleeding 3.
Mm-hmm.
Very original. Deploy order, same thing.
Yeah.
But this card is really good with both vampires in general, but especially with the other leader, which, spoiler alert, also a vampire, because spreading bleeding 3 to 2 units or having that ability to apply second bleeding 3 is really nice.
Yeah.
And most people don't want to deal with an Alp to just prevent an order bleeding 3, if we're honest. Although that may change with the power levels of this archetype.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, after Alp we have Proto-Flatter. Also vampire, deploy, given an enemy unit bleeding 3, then boost self by the amount of bleeding on that unit. Potentially
very good.
Yes.
Very good. Yeah. So you may actually save this as a potential finisher and get a huge boost on Proto-Fiddler by stacking all your bleeds on an enemy unit. No. Right? In a short long round, you use your leader ability, that's 6.
Mm-hmm.
You use Proto-Fiddler, that's 9. You get a 9 boost on Proto-Fiddler, which is not nothing, let's be honest. No. But most likely you'll use this to apply bleeding on another one and boost self by 3. And again, bleeding is going to be a bit wackier than I think people are predicting.
Mm-hmm.
And finally,
Flutter. Vampire, whenever an enemy unit receives bleeding, gain vitality with the same duration.
This will be one that I tested, and I feel like there's something missing with this archetype just because of this one card. Because what you're gonna see with this Fledler, which is a very good card by the way, because it starts off at 5 power and essentially is like +1. Let's say you do bleeding 3, it's +1. It's 3 vitalities for the next 3 turns. It's a 1-point engine, which is, it's a stronger starting point than the traditional, 3 power, 1 point per turn engines, right? You get out with Portal. The thing that often happens in a crazy bleed deck is you end up with like vitality 27 on a Fledler or something insane, and you're like, that's never gonna tick. There's no way to take advantage of that vitality. So maybe I'm just using the Fledler wrong when I was doing it.
Maybe.
But it feels really wacky. And I think in a mirror matchup, that vitality will like counteract your opponent's bleeding on you.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. I don't even know.
That'll be interesting. If it's a mirror, it's going to be quite funny.
All right. Now we've talked about the 3. I'm sorry, guys. Vampires is super fun to play. Like I get excited with this one, and especially because of the other leader card.
Yes.
Burza?
Unseen Elder. Deploy. Give bleeding 4 to an enemy unit. At the end of your turn, give bleeding 2 to a random enemy unit without bleeding. Devotion at the end of your turn also trigger bleeding on enemy units. 13 provision, 5 power.
You want this devotion, people. Like, this devotion is so cool. Like, you're playing a longer round. You got your Blood Moon applying bleeding. You've got your Alps spreading out the bleeding. Turn ends. Unseen Elder picks a unit without bleeding. Boom, another 2 bleeding. And then deals 1 damage to all bleeding units and recoups 1 bleeding charge. It looks amazing. It out-tempoed Broover once. Like, I was sure I was going to lose, but it was just so much bleeding, missile action. It is so fun to pull off.
Yeah.
Wow. This card is, I think, one of my favorites from the set, just because of how cool it looks when it works properly. Definitely a target for removal.
Yeah. I agree. Okay, we have one more thing in the monster section that we want to talk about. One is Cthulhu, and this kind of leads to a change for Carapace, right?
Yeah, so it's not. We're not changing anything with Cthulhu, but let's be honest, Carapace is in the high meta a Cthulhu deck leader ability. We didn't really want to destroy this deck. I don't think we are either, but we do feel like the ability for Carapace to give Veil to Ciri Dash was a bit much, and remove the ability to lock her too much. So Carapace is not really being fundamentally changed. However, it will now only give Veil if it's a monster unit.
Yeah.
So it will no longer give Veil to cards like Ciri Dash. That's it. That's all there is. It's a slight nerf, or maybe you guys think it's huge. I don't know. I think it's a reasonable nerf to Ciri Dash. You can still buff her by 3. She's a bit harder to remove, but at least now you can counter it with the lock.
Yep. And we have Syndicate left now. Last one.
Syndicate. The faction that you guys think we don't love. Well,
I think it's the one getting the most love right now, right? Especially
man, most changes are here. In fact, there's so many Syndicate buffs in this update that we will not go through all of them, for sure.
We'll just highlight a couple. We'll just highlight a couple and touch up on the 2 new leader cards.
Simple, Shakedown, 1 provision last. Small buff.
Yeah.
Beggar, Profit 2 to 3. Bonded, Profit 5. We like playing more with Bonded on bronzes. And Ludovicus Brennenbaum, the
Gnome Crown Splitter.
will now generate 9 coins instead of 6 on his ability, and his tribute will go up from 4 to 5. So buffs.
Exactly.
And these are just small examples, but some of them are maybe a bit scarier. Check out the patch notes when it comes. Be excited or not, up to you. But more importantly, I think my favorite Syndicate leader rework or leader card is
our boy Cleaver. So Cleaver, Dwarf, Crown Splitters, Intimidate, Deploy, Spawn and Play, Shakedown, increase this card's Intimidate by 1 for every adjacent Crown Splitter. Fee 4, spawn Cleaver's Muscle on this row. Whoa.
So good.
It's gonna be fun.
So good. Actually, I don't have it off the top of my head, but Tunnel Drill was also buffed. You are going to want to deal with Crown Splitters. And a Crown Splitters deck is probably going to be totes legit in this update. Like
totes legit.
Totes legit, guys. It's really fun deck to play right now. I think it has an actual chance to be meta. Cleaver is really good. Tunnel Drill is totally viable, which I think increases damage by 1 for every adjacent Crown Splitters, and now I believe it's fee 2. So it has a high chance of converting very nicely, right? If you have 8 coins, you plop it between 2 Crown Splitters, you're doing what, 3 times 4, which is 12 damage right off the bat, which is nothing to scoff at, right?
Yeah, 12 is a lot.
The Crown Splitters might actually be leaving their hiding places and patrolling the streets in the upcoming update.
Yeah, shaking things.
I highly recommend trying it down. They're gonna shake you down.
Yeah.
Shake you down. But yeah, a lot of fun. And I think we have one other leader card that we can just get to now.
Yes. Last but not least, we got Mr. Horizon Jr. Human Cut-Ups. Deploy. Damage a boosted enemy unit by 6. Gain a coin for every point of excess damage dealt. Devotion, also gain Insanity. Fistic character. Fee 3, destroy an enemy unit with 3 power or less.
In the playtests, a certain famous popular streamer managed to do the most lore-friendly thing in the universe. He used Horson Jr. to damage my Horson Sr.
Oh.
And then used his Fee ability to kill him. And I was like, you can't say no to that, right?
Yeah, 10 points for flavor.
That's the dream, people. All right,
yeah.
Is Horson Jr. killing Horson Sr. Yeah. Definitely, it's an interesting control option. I'm not sure how much meta this will be, but it fits Blood Money and the way the cut-ups work, and it's an additional nice, high power, high removal card, right? That plays essentially, well, I guess, 11 for 10, which is not bad, with the ability to keep using those fees. Very good, I think.
Yeah.
Very good.
Super good. I like it. That's it.
Whew, we made it through the balance changes, Burza.
And these are not all of them. And these are not all of them. Read the patch notes, you'll find out more. But before we wrap things up, we have one more thing to touch upon. And so it's a small surprise and something that people have been talking about. They see this little golden character appearing from place to place.
Hashtag never forget what?
Golden Necker. What's up with that?
So we leaked that on purpose, surprise, surprise, a long time ago, because we've codenamed an internal project, which is like a new, more single-player game mode. Mm-hmm. It's not its own game. It's not a second, you know what. But we call this project Golden Necker, right? We codename projects in the industry. It makes us feel top secret and awesome.
Yep.
And while, it's hard to say this early in the year whether we'll manage to release it in the later half of this year, we have very high hopes to do so. It's definitely something that we've been working hard on. It's definitely something that's it's pretty ambitious in terms of a game mode for us. It's definitely more content heavy. It's not just a small rule set change, although there is a rule set change in it and factor in it. And I think we have one kind of more tease that we can show about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have it on screen yet.
Yeah, you'll be seeing it now. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, this is just, I won't even say what, but it's something we're really excited about, guys. And we felt like you should know that, this is one of the things that we've been balancing on our plate for about a year now, or actually over a year.
Over a year
at this point.
Yeah.
We're trying to get this really cool new game mode that's something special out there for you guys. We're putting a lot of love and effort into it, and it's one of the reasons we don't want to focus on just making a large amount of meaningless cards and content. We'd rather try to do something special like this. And yeah, I don't know. That's all I have to say. It's
That's it.
Don't get your expectations too high, but don't get them too low. We're excited. Hopefully it all turns out like our imagination believes it is.
It's been a wild ride, and I'm excited about the project, and we're excited to actually share it with you guys once it's ready. So yeah, get ready.
Yeah, we want to wait till we have more concrete things to show you, and we're more certain on when we'll be able to put it into your hands. But the current goal, hopefully, is to try and get it out in the last quarter of this year, if everything goes well. But we don't want to rush it out. We want it to come out great. So that's it. That's our last surprise, guys.
Way to end on a high note. Ending on a high note.
We certainly never forgot, and
hashtag never forget.
Hashtag never forget. Thanks a lot for doing this video with Burza. It's
always a pleasure, dude. Always a pleasure.
I'm gonna go drown my vocal cords in cold water to recuperate from stuff talking. And thanks a lot for listening, guys. Hopefully you are excited about the future of Gwent with us. And sorry that we didn't manage to get you as excited as we are in the past, but hopefully we fixed that this time. Let us know. And yeah, that's it for me. Signing off.
Yep, signing off.
Captain
here.
2 Flags.
Captain 2 Flags. See you later, Jason. Thank you, man. See you guys. Bye-bye.